Hey, welcome. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on something we all take for granted, the incredible invisible journey that every single thing you buy takes to get to you. So let's dive into this hidden world of logistics, strategy, and tech that makes our modern lives possible. You've totally done this. You find something you want online, you click that buy now button, and then a few days, or hey, maybe even a few hours later, a package just magically appears at your door. It feels like magic, right? But it's not. It's actually a massive, perfectly coordinated effort. So, what really goes on between that click and your doorbell ringing? Well, the answer to that whole mystery is the supply chain. And it's not just one company or one thing. It's this huge, interconnected web of organizations. We're talking suppliers, manufacturers, truckers, warehouses, retailers, all working together. Just try to picture the entire life of a product, from a piece of cotton in a field all the way to the t-shirt in your hands. That whole epic journey, that's the supply chain. To really get a handle on this journey, we first have to understand the currents that are actually powering it. You see, every single supply chain, no matter if it's for a pencil or a passenger jet, is driven by three fundamental flows. Okay, first up, you've got the most obvious one, the flow of materials. This is the actual physical thing moving forward, from the raw materials supplier to a factory to a warehouse and then finally to you. But, and this is really interesting, it's also a two-way street. That reverse flow you see here, that's when you return something. That package has to travel backward through the chain, which, believe me, is a huge logistical puzzle all on its own. Next, there's the money. When you buy something, your cash starts its own journey, but it goes in the opposite direction. It flows upstream from you, back to the retailer, then to the distributor, the manufacturer, and all the way back to the people who supplied the raw materials in the first place. Every single link in that chain has to get paid. And finally, we have the flow that holds the entire thing together, information. And this is a constant two-way conversation. Your order? That's a piece of information that travels all the way upstream, telling everyone what to make and where to send it. At the same time, shipment updates, invoices, forecasts, that's all data flowing back and forth. Honestly, without this constant digital chatter, the entire global network would just grind to a halt. So, we've got the flows that power the journey. But how does a product physically get from point A to point B? Well, that brings us to the actual route, what you can think of as the highways and the pit stops of the supply chain. This is where logistics comes into play. Logistics is pretty much the science and the art of moving stuff. It's this complex dance of choosing the right truck or ship or plane, picking the most efficient route, and coordinating everything needed to get your package from a warehouse to your doorstep safely and on time. And there isn't just one highway for everything. It really depends on what you're moving. Trucks give you incredible flexibility for pretty much any kind of door-to-door service. For really bulky, heavy stuff going a long way, rail is the super cost-effective workhorse. Need something delivered like yesterday? Air is your go-to, but you're going to pay for that speed. For massive quantities of low-cost goods, nothing beats a container ship. And for things like oil and gas, well, a pipeline is the cheapest way to operate once you've built it. Now, a product doesn't just travel non-stop from the factory to your house. It often has to wait at these, let's call them rest stops along the way. In the supply chain world, these rest stops are called inventory. These are just stockpiles of goods, sitting in warehouses or in the back of a store, waiting for the next leg of their journey or for you to come and buy them. So you might be thinking, why would a company want a bunch of stuff just sitting around? Well, there are actually some really smart strategic reasons. A candy company, for example, will build up a mountain of chocolate all year to meet that huge demand at Christmas. Or a company might keep extra parts on hand just in case one of their key suppliers runs into trouble. But ultimately, it comes down to the most basic promise of retail, making absolutely sure that when you want to buy something, it's actually there for you. Okay, a successful journey like this doesn't just happen by accident. It needs a map. This whole section is about the big picture, strategic decisions that companies make to design the best possible route for a product to travel. At the very heart of supply chain strategy is this fundamental trade-off. And this comparison between Walmart and Amazon just nails it. Do you design your whole system for efficiency, that is, low cost, or for responsiveness, which means fast service? Walmart's classic model is all about minimizing cost using fewer gigantic distribution centers. Amazon, on the other hand, is obsessed with speed. They've built this massive network of warehouses, and they stock more inventory closer to you so they can deliver faster. Neither one is right or wrong, they're just two different maps designed to reach two very different goals. Now, what if a company decides it doesn't want to rely on other companies for its map? What if it decides to own the map itself? This is where vertical integration comes in. It's when a company buys and controls different parts of its own supply chain. If it buys its suppliers, the companies that give it raw materials, we call that backward integration. And if it buys its distributors, like the retail stores, that's called forward integration. The classic textbook example is Henry Ford. He was terrified that a shortage from a supplier could shut down his entire assembly line. So what did he do? He basically bought the whole journey. He owned the iron ore mines, the coal mines, the ships, the railroads, everything. He took total control of his supply chain to guarantee a smooth ride for all his materials. And don't think for a second this is just some old school idea. Look at Netflix. They started out as just a distributor for movies and shows made by other studios. But then they realized their raw material, the content, was controlled by other companies. So by creating their own original content, they pulled off a modern version of vertical integration, making sure they'd always have a product to sell, no matter what other studios decided to do. All right, so we've got the flows, the highways, and the map. But in today's world, how does anyone keep track of all these moving parts in real time? Well, the final piece of this puzzle is technology, the modern digital GPS that guides the whole thing. A huge piece of this is something called EDI, or Electronic Data Interchange. The easiest way to think about it is like a special language that lets the computers at a retailer, a manufacturer, and a shipping company all talk directly to each other. Purchase orders, invoices, they all get sent and processed automatically with no humans involved. This makes everything ridiculously fast and gets rid of costly mistakes. It's what allows millions of these transactions to happen flawlessly every single day. The next level up from that is RFID. This is a massive upgrade on the classic barcode we're all used to. An RFID tag is basically a tiny little radio transmitter attached to a product or a pallet of products. A reader can scan it from a distance without even needing to see it. Imagine scanning an entire truckload of boxes in seconds without ever opening the doors. That's the power of RFID. And I guarantee you have used this GPS technology probably without even realizing it. You know those anti-theft tags on clothes? That's RFID. That little box in your car for automatic toll payments. Yep, RFID. It's used to time marathon runners, to track luggage at the airport. It's even in our passports now. It is absolutely everywhere, silently keeping things organized and moving. Now, when you combine all this amazing tech, you can get some really advanced partnerships going. A great example is vendor-managed inventory, or VMI. This is where a supplier can actually see a retailer's sales data in real time. The supplier then takes on the job of automatically shipping more stock before the retailer even has to place an order. It's kind of like having a smart refrigerator that tells the grocery store you're low on milk and has it delivered before you even know you're out. It's a level of teamwork that makes the entire system way more efficient. And this all brings us to a timeless, powerful truth. A supply chain is exactly that, a chain. It doesn't matter if your factory is the best in the world if your shipping partner is unreliable. It doesn't matter if your information flow is perfect if your raw materials are poor quality. One single failure can disrupt the entire journey. So the big takeaway here is that in this incredibly interconnected world, every single link matters. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We all want our stuff faster, cheaper, and more reliably than ever before. But as we've just seen, that puts an unbelievable amount of pressure on every single link in this complex global chain. So the next time you click buy, maybe take a second to think about that incredible journey it's about to start and ask yourself, where are the weak spots and are any of them about to snap?